Donald Trump filed a garbage $20 billion lawsuit over a 60 Minutes interview that he didn't like. And CBS folded like a cheap suit in that lawsuit, not because he was right, but because he was powerful. And this isn't just about journalism. This is to protect a merger that CBS had. It's spineless conduct. CBS handed him a win that he never earned. And that's what we're talking about today. I'm Shant, joined by Brian Kabateck on Civil Action on the Legal AF Network. Brian, tell us about this lawsuit.
Well, I think we could start by explaining that there's 8.4 billion reasons why CBS and its parent Paramount entered into this settlement, and that's because there's an $8.4 billion pending sale of Paramount to Skydance, which is a company owned by Larry Ellison's son, that needs to be approved by the FCC. And the chair of the FCC who will rule on the validity of this deal is a Trump appointee. So look no further than that for the reason why they bent the knee and kissed the ring. But the lawsuit itself is absolute garbage. You know, I've been doing this over 30 years of my life. I've been involved in civil lawsuits and claims and cases. And this lawsuit stems from the weakest possible set of facts that you can imagine, with absolutely no damages. So kind of give the background, Shant, of this stupid lawsuit.
Sure. It rises out of a 60 Minutes interview or a piece that CBS did that featured Kamala Harris. Not that Donald Trump wasn't even in it. And they argue, their claims are basically that CBS deceptively edited that the interview and certain responses that Kamala Harris had in order to make her sound smarter than Donald Trump. I mean, that's not a high bar, right? Trying to sound smarter than Donald Trump. But all kidding aside, it's a bullshit lawsuit. They brought it under a Texas consumer protection law. And Brian and we do a lot of consumer protection work. We do class actions that involve that. We do individual cases. This is not a consumer protection type of case. They filed it in Amarillo, Texas.
Amarillo. Get it right,
sorry.
I know you haven't been there, but get it right.
Amarillo, Texas. Because why? Because there's a Trump appointee there and, single judge. So it's a predictable assignment to a judge that's going to be favorable.
Judge Matthew Kaczmarek, the only judge who was appointed near the end of Trump's term to this district court. So they specifically put it in this district court. This is what we call forum shopping, looking for the best judge in the best possible venue they can find in the United States.
And but they don't even need it. I mean, because I don't think it could even help them. It's such a weak case that this could have gotten thrown out. You know, CBS could fight this and most people would fight this thing, right?
Well, the first problem they had was a venue problem. The case should have been filed probably in New York, where 60 Minutes is based. But in order to get around that, they added Republican Representative Ronnie Jackson from Texas as an aggrieved plaintiff. No one could explain what his grievances were. But let's kind of get to the best part, Shant, which is what are Trump's damages that he was seeking for this? Not what he was asking for in the billions of dollars in damages, but what was the legal basis for his damages?
Harm to his campaign, fundraising loss.
I got some news. I got some news for him. He won.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just wild. It's such, on every aspect of it, it's a nonsense lawsuit, right? I think as civil lawyers, we could kind of talk about without getting too deep into it, we could talk about like what the elements are here. You know, you got to have standing. You got to have a position to be in where you've been harmed in order to sue. You have to have things like evidence. You have to have things like damages. I think all of those are missing here. Someone like Ronnie Jackson, what standing do they have? What's Trump's damages? He won the law. He won the election. I mean, I don't know. You know, it's just wild. It's just a bizarre lawsuit that could get pretty easily tossed out. I mean, look, the judge could do gymnastics.
Let's pivot to that, Shant, for a moment, shall we? Which is almost every state, or at least, every major state has a lawsuit which basically protects people from what are called strategic lawsuits. Let me give you the easiest example possible. You've got someone that lives in a homeowners association, a condo complex, and they're complaining about the way that the complex is being run. and the president files a lawsuit basically to shut them up, to stop them from talking. And that lawsuit gets routinely tossed because that person's activity is protected, presumably. And the lawsuit was designed for the strategic purpose of shutting them up. So every state has lawsuits like this that specifically protect constitutionally protected activities. Oh, I don't know. I could give you another example, Sean, of a protected activity, news broadcasts. But before I move on from that, let me just point out the irony of the Trump administration and anyone who views themselves as a far-right conservative complaining about the way the media may or may not portray something. Now, having said that, Shant, talk about these lawsuits and the Texas law that and how it would operate here.
Well, there's the laws that protect what we call public, and now we're going to sound like nerdy lawyers because we are nerdy lawyers.
We are nerdy lawyers. Yeah.
But there are laws that protect what's called public participation, things like free speech, things like news reporting. And Texas has their own version of that law. And this is something that could have easily been dismissed. CBS could have moved to dismiss this and it could have gotten thrown out. Look, no guarantee. Some judge could have done some sort of mental gymnastics and kept the case alive. But that didn't happen. So what did they do instead, Brian? Did CBS try to fight this?
No, they didn't even file the motion, which they should have filed. Yeah. And despite this, Judge Kaczmarek, or whatever his name is in Amarillo, Texas, could have could have rejected the motion to dismiss the case. But most times these are directly appealable orders that go right up to the Court of Appeal. This was a federal judge, so it would have gone to the Federal Court of Appeals. And presumably the lawsuit would have been thrown out. That's my best professional estimate under the circumstances. But they didn't, because how much did they pay in this lawsuit to settle it, Sean?
They paid $16 million.
Right. And there's an $8.4 billion deal on the table. Now, I did the math, and that $16 million that they're paying is 0.00019% of the $8.4 billion. That's like the pocket change in Aunt Sally's couch that you can fish out when you're over there getting a cup of tea. It's such a small, minuscule amount to them to make this deal. And that's what this ultimately was about.
It's good value for them. Look, they didn't, it's not like Paramount apologized or admitted something, but money talks. $16 million to settle something like this for them is pocket change. This was totally motivated by trying to make that deal happen and keeping the FCC chair happy. And so the merger can go through. And it's just it's really shady. It's scummy behavior. And, it undermines free speech. It undermines the press's ability to report on things like this, because this kind of will become a tactic that either Trump will try to employ to get compliance from other organizations and other opponents or people that are reporting things that he thinks are not favorable, or it'll also motivate other actors, other media companies or other people to try to cut deals like this in order to gain favor with the administration that's in power. It's a lose-lose situation for everyone, except, of course, for a company like CBS, Paramount.
So my final thought on this, Sean, is, first of all, I grew up with 60 Minutes being one of the most respected news voices out there. I'm sure they don't get everything right all the time, but it's very accurate and it's very informative, and intelligent, smart people can look at something from both sides and make their own decisions. What this does is it undermines 60 Minutes, whose executive producer quit over this. I believe the head of CBS News has now either been fired or quit over this. It undermines the integrity of the news industry. And I think most significantly, it emboldens Trump, and it emboldens him to think that he can do whatever he wants. He's a bully. He can push people around. And until a bully gets punched in the nose, and maybe punched in the nose repeatedly, this kind of behavior is going to continue and go on and on. So those are my final thoughts. And as usual, Shant, you get the last word.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I think, what happened here is Trump got handed a playbook for controlling the media and controlling the news. It's going to further embolden him. It's giving other politicians in the future a playbook for how to control the media and get their way. And it sets a really bad precedent, and it opens the door to really bad behavior on both sides. It's a lose-lose situation. You're going to have media companies trying to grovel in front of whoever's in power. And then you're going to have people empowered looking to employ strategies like this to control the media. It's bad news all around. I'm Shant Karnikian. That's Brian Kabateck. This is Civil Action on the Legal AF Network. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Like and subscribe. If you have comments, we'd love to hear from you. And tune in next time. See you soon.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.